Hello! Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you guys here. Today we're going to be doing my February wrap up. I read 10 books in February. Oh my gosh, the stack is so heavy. And we're just going to go through all of them, tell you guys my thoughts and opinions, and yeah. I have my Goodreads pulled up because I don't remember my ratings. If you're ever curious, my Goodreads, socials, Amazon wishlist, it's all down below. So feel free to check that out. The first book that I finished of the month was Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. And I gave this book 4.5 stars, which I feel like is a pretty good rating. I read When in Rome. I don't remember when, quite a few months ago. That's the book that comes before this. It's a standalone companion series, so you don't technically have to read it in order, but it's better to, obviously. But I read When in Rome, and I really did not like that book that much. I really don't like the one of them is famous trope. It just rubs me the wrong way. I think it can be done well, but it's not my favorite. But this one was different. This one follows the main girl from the first book's bodyguard and her fiance's sister. That makes sense. It takes place in a small town called Rome, Kentucky, and I do really enjoy the small town vibes. And this one was so cute. She owns a flower shop. She doesn't have a lot of experience dating, so he becomes her dating coach and basically shows her how to talk to guys and how to get a date and that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed this one. The only thing I didn't love about it is she has a swear jar type of thing, or I think it's a notebook. She doesn't let people swear. She comes up with all these different words to take place of swear words, and it's just kind of cringy. The things that she says are just a little bit ooh. But other than that, I did really enjoy this book, and it was a pretty quick read for me. The next book I read was From Luke Off With Love by Mariana Zapata, and oh my gosh, I gave this book 5 stars. I have been putting this off for the longest time because it is on the bigger side. Mariana Zapata does a lot of slow burns, which I didn't think I would like, but I freaking love this. This book is about 2 figure skaters. It's like enemies to friends to lovers. They both think that the other one doesn't like them, and they're very resentful towards each other, and they end up pair skating, and it was just the cutest thing ever. I did not want this book to end. It was so good, and now I really want to pick up another Mariana Zapata book. So if you have any Mariana Zapata recommendations, please let me know, because I seriously need some recommendations. I've been thinking about getting All Roads Lead Here. I think that's what it's called. I'll put a picture of it right here. If you've read this one, let me know your thoughts. The next book I read was Never by Jessa Hastings. I actually have a reading vlog on this one. I read my highest and lowest rated books on Goodreads, so go ahead and watch that video when you're done. This one I gave it 3.5 stars. I really did not enjoy it. Basically, this book is about Daphne, and she has waited her whole adolescent life for Peter to come and take her to Neverland. He's come and taken everyone in her family before her, her mom and her grandma, and he always comes when they're 12, 13, younger in their teen years, and he doesn't come for her until she's 17. She's kind of grown up, Peter's kind of grown up, and he takes her to Neverland, and she meets Jameson Hook, and then it's very love triangular, I don't know, between Peter and Jameson and Daphne, and it was so frustrating. Peter still kind of has a more immature mind, I guess, because in Neverland they don't really age. I don't know, I've never seen Peter Pan, so I don't know the premise and the rules of how it works. So reading this was very frustrating because Peter just sounds so unintelligent, and he can't remember anything. And I don't know if that's a part of Peter Pan, because again, I've never watched it, but him not being able to remember anything was so infuriating. I don't know how Daphne did it. Jameson was also just not the best guy. I did not like any of the male main characters or love interests. It just and this book barely had a plot. It was character driven, but the characters were so infuriating. There's gonna be a second one. I don't know when. I'll probably pick it up and hope that it gets better. And then the next book I read, also in my Goodreads video, was The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I gave this book 5 stars. This is the same author as Fourth Wing, and I loved this book. It was so good. It's about a guy named Beckett, and him and his friend are special ops, and his friend passes away. His last letter to Beckett was saying, please go to my hometown and take care of my sister who is single with 2 kids. So Beckett goes, takes care of her, basically. I don't love kids in books, but oh my gosh, were these kids so sweet. I felt the love connections and I was rooting for all the characters. And when I wasn't reading this book, I found myself constantly thinking about it and wanting to pick it up again. It was so good and so sad. It also switches off point of view between the guy and the girl, and the start of every chapter is a letter from either the guy or the girl because they started off as pen pals. The writing was amazing. I was so hooked the entire time. This was seriously an amazing reading month for me because the next book I read was Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. 5 stars. So good. I also have a reading vlog on this one. I will link that as well. Like, I don't have any words for this. This is the 5th book in the Magnolia Park series. If you don't know, it's about a group of friends who live in high society London, and it's basically like Gossip Girl. It kind of just takes you through their relationship issues and their family issues, how they choose to spend their money, them going on vacations and shopping. It's very mundane stuff that happens in the lives of these super rich elite people. But it is amazing. Like, this is another Jessa Hastings book, same author as Never. This is also very character driven, but these characters are so easy to just fall in love with. I was so enthralled in the world of these characters. I feel like I know them personally. Like, I feel like Magnolia is my friend. It's so weird how writing can just completely consume us, but that's what this book did. When I was reading this, I felt like I was in this world. I would recommend this series to anyone. Just know that going into it, it's going to be toxic. This is a very toxic series, but it does get better. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm so in love with Magnolia and BJ. This was their last book. It hurts my heart that we're not getting any more books from them. The next book I read was Didn't See That Coming by Jessie Q Sutanto, and I gave this book 3.75 stars. I liked it. It just wasn't anything like too special. This book is very, very YA, which is also why I feel like I knocked it down a few stars because it was just so YA and like kind of cringy. But it's about a girl who plays video games with a guy's gamer tag, basically, just so people don't know that she's a girl playing video games, and she has like an online friend that she is super close with. They end up going to the same school because she transfers schools. This book was such a quick read for me. I think I finished it in like 24 hours, but it was just very like YA and cringy. It's part of a companion novel series, which I didn't know, and this is actually the 2nd book. So I didn't read the first one, but I think I might because I just liked how easy it was to get through. I love Jessie Q Sutanto. Her writing is so good, and even though this was so YA, I still enjoyed it. Like, it wasn't a bad book. The next book I picked up was Never Lie by Frida McFadden. Another 5 stars. This is what I mean when this was such a good reading month. Frida McFadden is very quickly becoming one of my favorite thriller authors. Stop licking, please. He's sitting over here with me and it is such a distraction. Look how handsome he looks. He's just sitting here staring at me this entire time. Her books are so fast-paced, and one of my favorite things about her books is every single piece of information that you get is necessary. Like, there's not a whole lot of over-explaining. It's just so quick and to the point. I think I also read this book in under 24 hours. I was so obsessed and I needed to know what was gonna happen next. This book is about a couple who are house hunting, and they go and look at this huge estate during a snowstorm. And they get trapped in and they have to stay in this house. No one has lived there since the previous owner, who was a psychologist, and she disappeared 4 years prior. This book just had so many twists and turns. There was a point in this book when I was literally sitting there like mouth open, jaw on the floor. I definitely recommend this author. I just got another Frida McFadden book right here from Target yesterday, and I'm so excited to get to it because her books were so good. After that, I read The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. What did I rate this book? I think I gave it 5 stars too. I did! Another 5-star book. This one I actually finished last night. I loved it. This book says it's a thriller, but I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. It is YA dystopian, and there's this society where when girls turn 16, they are banished for a year. They are basically locked in an encampment in the woods. Like, it's a fenced off area in the woods, and if they leave this encampment, they risk being killed by poachers, and they have to survive basically on the land for a year to purify them so that they can come back and be ready for marriage. Which, this book, I would maybe look up the trigger warnings. It's such an interesting concept, and I can see how it might be like a little bit triggering, I guess, for lack of better words. This is another book where when I wasn't reading it, I found myself thinking about it and like craving reading it. Like, all I wanted to do was curl up in my little fuzzy chair and read this book. And then I read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This book I gave 3.75 stars. I liked it. It just started to get a little long and repetitive. Basically, this book is about a guy who wakes up every day in a different body of these people who attended a masquerade ball where Evelyn Hardcastle is murdered. He's trapped in these 8 different bodies until he can solve who murdered her, and then he'll be basically like freed back to his own body. I liked the book. It just, like I said, it started to get a little bit repetitive because he is living the same day over and over again, just in a different body. At one point, I was just kind of like, when is this gonna end? Because it is like a pretty long book. And then the last book I read was Archenemies by Marissa Meyer. I gave this book 4.75 stars, basically a 5-star. This is the second in the Renegades series, and I'm so excited to read the third one. It is on my March TBR. I did a little TBR jar video. I will link that as well. But I cannot wait to read the next one because this one was so good. This series is about a society where there are prodigies, which are people who have superpowers, and then just regular old people. And our main character, Nova, is a prodigy. The group of superheroes is called the Renegades, and she is an anarchist, which are people who also have superpowers, but they're against the Renegades. Nova is against the Renegades, but she decides to join them so she can figure out their secrets from the inside in order to take them down. And it is so good. There's a little romance, and it really starts to like pick up in the second book. It's YA. I don't know if I mentioned that. Super like action-packed and engaging, so I'm obsessed with this series and I cannot wait to read the next one. Those are all the books I read in February. This was an amazing reading month. I had a lot of fun with these books. If you like this video, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Anything you do helps me out so much, and I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys so soon in my next one. Bye.